meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted one time to see you laughing.
Welcome to the very first episode of Guarding Greatness. If you caught the trailer, you know this isn't a place for gossip or scandal. This is a journey into what it takes to protect someone of immeasurable talent and cultural impact, like Prince, while also getting to know the person behind that role. That person is me, Hucky Austin. Before we jump into the lights, the stage, and the uniqueness of executive protection, let's roll the clock all the way back. Let's go to the very start of my story, a time before I was a protector, before I'd ever heard the name Prince, and before I knew how complicated and beautiful life could be. I want to begin in the year I was born, 1963. 1963. America stood at a crossroads. The civil rights movement was in full swing, testing the nation's conscience. Voices like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. were stirring hopes for a more just tomorrow, even as entrenched fears and hatreds sparked violence and resistance. It was also the year President John F. Kennedy was assassinated, a wound that would forever alter the country's sense of innocence and possibility. In that same turbulent era, the music world lost Dinah Washington, a voice that had touched countless souls. Intellectual luminary W.E.B. Du Bois passed away, leaving a legacy of thought that continues to challenge racial paradigms. Civil rights activist Medgar Evers was cruelly assassinated, further igniting the flames of change. Meanwhile, in culture and entertainment, icons were being born. People like Michael Jordan, Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt, Whitney Houston, and Seal, future legends who would shape sports, film, and music for decades to come. Into this world, I arrived February 8, 1963, 12:07 p.m. at General Hospital's North Wing in Kansas City, Missouri. My mother, Dorothy Mary Belton, was there to welcome me, her eyes filled with love, and I'm sure 1,000 unspoken dreams for my future. As for my father, well, he wasn't in the picture early on. Life doesn't always hand you a neat, tidy family unit, and mine was no exception. From the start, my life played out against a backdrop of family, a network of strong personalities and guiding hands. My grandmother, Ethel, and my grandfather, Lorenny, held court in a 3-bedroom Tudor house painted canary yellow. It might not have seemed like much to the outside world, but to me, that house was a fortress of values, a place where love, respect, and discipline went hand in hand. Grandma Ethel was the true matriarch. She was kind but firm, and you'd best not test her patience. She kept that household running smoothly, cooking meals from scratch, ensuring Sunday church attendance, and imbuing us with lessons you couldn't learn in books. Grandpa Lorenny was a Baptist minister who drove an old Dodge pickup that smelled of motor oil and honest work. He'd often speak of faith and perseverance, and though I was too young to fully understand his words, I felt their warmth. Around age 2 or 3, I earned my nickname. You see, I was enamored with a cartoon character named Huckleberry Hound. I'd sit inches from the TV, captivated by that slow-talking blue dog who seemed to handle everything with a calm twang. My Aunt Evelina noticed and started calling me Baby Huck. Over time, it morphed into Hucky, and that's who I am to this day. It's funny how nicknames stick, how they shape our identities long before we know who we are. Even then, my mom noticed something about me. I had this instinct to watch over others, to step in if someone was hurt or scared. She'd say, "You've always had those protective qualities, Hucky." It started small, looking out for my younger brother Ronnie when he was born in 1966, or keeping an eye on neighborhood kids, making sure they didn't get into too much trouble. I didn't know it then, but those early tendencies were the seeds of a skill set I'd later refine into a profession. Before Ronnie came along, it was mostly me, my family, and Terry. my childhood partner in crime. Terry and I were inseparable, two peas in a mischievous pod. There was the time we stumbled upon my grandpa's shotgun, well before child safety locks were a thing. Somehow, miraculously, we avoided disaster. Another time, we tested Grandma's patience by trying to run my toy car through the wringer of her old fashioned washing machine, only to get my hand stuck. Grandma freed me, fear and relief dancing on her face. I still carry a faint scar and the memory that curiosity can be dangerous if you're not careful. Those moments mattered. They taught me about boundaries and consequences. As a young boy, I learned the value of caution and the importance of being aware of my surroundings, lessons that would later translate into my role as a protector.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted one time to see you laughing.
We didn't just have the house and the washing machine escapades, we also had a backyard with a bird bath. A bird once swooped down and snatched my toy truck right before my eyes. No one believed me except Grandma, who'd seen it from the window. It was a strange, funny little event, but it taught me something about perspective, how the unexpected can happen at any moment, and how you need to be ready for surprises. In 1968, when I was 5, two major events left their imprint on my young mind. That April, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Even as a child, I felt the weight of my grandmother's reaction. Oh Lord, they done killed Dr. King, she cried. I might not have fully understood the gravity of that loss, but I felt the tremor it caused in the adults around me, a sense that the world was full of challenges and heartbreaks too large for a child to comprehend. Later that
I
year,
never
Grandma
meant to
Ethel passed
cause
away.
you any
Losing her
sorrow.
was a blow I could never have anticipated. She had
I
been the
never
guiding
meant to
star of our
cause you
family, and
any
now there was a void.
pain.
I remember the funeral
I
vaguely,
only wanted
the hush
one
of the room,
time to
the
see you
tears,
laughing.
and the sorrow that seemed to settle in
I
the corners
only
of our home
wanted to
like dust.
see you
Death was a
laughing
mystery
in the
then, something too big, too
pouring,
final for me to
purple
grasp.
rain,
But I
purple
understood loss.
rain,
I understood that life would never be the same without her.
purple
Around this time,
rain,
Mom
purple
decided we were moving to Minneapolis. I
rain,
didn't know why then. I just
purple
knew that we were
rain,
leaving
purple
behind Kansas City, and
rain.
Aunt Evelina
I
and
only
Grandpa
wanted
Loreni,
to
the
see
canary
you
yellow
laughing
house,
in the
and all the
purple
familiar smells and
rain.
sounds that made up my
I
early
never
world.
wanted to
I
be
remember
the
boarding
only
that train, my first
girl.
train ride, and feeling both excited and
I
confused.
only wanted
The
to
rumbling
be
tracks beneath my feet were like a drum roll
somebody.
for a new chapter. Mom must have
Baby,
carried a heavy
I
heart.
could never
She was leaving
stay
behind family, stability, and memories, all to
it's
carve out a
such a
better future.
shame
That's
our
something you rarely
friendship
grasp as a
had to
child. But
end.
now, looking back, I see
Purple
her bravery.
rain,
She was
purple
protecting us in her own way, shielding us from circumstances she believed weren't right, pushing us toward new opportunities. As the train chugged northward, I peppered my mom with questions. Where's Evelina? Where's Grandpa? Why can't they come with us? She explained as gently as she could, but I sensed the weight in her voice. Change is never easy, and I think at that moment I learned that life sometimes involves stepping into the unknown. We arrived in Minneapolis, a different city with a colder climate, a fresh start. I was just a kid, too young to appreciate all that my mom was doing. But I adapted. I made new friends, learned new routines, and all the while the lessons from Kansas City stuck with me. Keep an eye on those you care about, listen to your instincts, be ready for the unexpected, remember who you are and where you came from. Those early years laid a foundation. I didn't know it yet, but the combination of family values, personal curiosities, brushes with danger, and the responsibility of looking after a younger brother and my friends, these would all shape the man I would become. One day, those instincts would guide me as a protector, as someone entrusted to keep a living legend safe in a world that wanted so much from him. I need to share these roots with you because understanding the beginning helps you appreciate the journey. Being a protector to Prince wasn't just a job I stumbled into, it was a role I grew toward my entire life, shaped by experiences both big and small, from that canary yellow house in Kansas City to the bustling streets of Minneapolis. In the coming episodes, I'll take you deeper into the art and craft of executive protection, what it means, how it feels, the sacrifices it demands. I'll tell you about the dedication required behind the scenes, long before the world sees a performer step on stage. But I'll also continue to peel back the layers of my personal story because understanding who I was makes it clear how I became the protector I am. Guarding greatness isn't just about Prince, it's about the mindset, the values, and the life experiences that allowed me to serve someone so monumental. It's about learning that sometimes the best way to understand a person's role in the spotlight is to follow their journey from the shadows. I hope you'll stick with me as I continue to weave these threads together. Today's episode was about the early threads, the kind you barely notice when you're a child, but which ultimately form the fabric of your character. Next time, we'll move forward in time, delve a bit deeper into how life's changes and challenges molded my outlook and capabilities. Until then, this is Hucky Austin, thanking you for listening to the first full episode of Guarding Greatness. Our journey is just beginning, and I'm honored that you've decided to join me.